Hi, I'm Maddie, and I'm from California, and this is the title of my research paper. So I'm doing 연구, a report about adoption in Korea. So, sorry it's long, but there's that. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll introduce my research. So I'm American, I'm from California. I'll back one slide. Okay, so I attended a very beautiful campus university called Pacific Union College near Napa, California. I got a bachelor's of science in health communication and my teaching certificate. So when I first came to Korea, I came as a teacher. And while I was in university, I had the opportunity to do a lot of really interesting projects related to communication. Also, I'm really interested in linguistics and philosophy, so I hope to go to graduate school for those two subjects eventually. So the two major projects that I did when I was in university, one was about beauty and the media, particularly how women see themselves in the media, portrayed in the media, and also I did a research project with some classmates about how people interact with strangers, whether they're more likely to accept a compliment or criticism from a stranger based on what they think of the stranger's attractiveness. And that was accepted into the National Communication Association paper presentation for 2015. So then the last 2 years I've spent in Korea, I spent a year and a half teaching English with 삼육 in GWANGJU, and then about 6 months studying at 전남대학교. Okay, so I also want to explain a little bit about the statistics that I was able to find. There are three major statistics collectors within Korea. So this is the Ministry of Health and Welfare, and this is, actually all of these are government funded, but this is the government organization one. Kosis and KOSTAT. So these are, I just wanted to introduce those to you as we get started. Okay, so far, mostly what I've been doing is literature research. Just basically reading compiled articles, statistics, etc. online, and also a lot of learning about Korean culture related to adoption. So historically, adoption has been used for maintaining family lineage. So if either someone is unable to have a son, or they have a son and that son dies, then they can adopt someone else to replace the missing son, basically. So one key record is the family registers. So as Westerners, many of us see this as very strange that family registers, family records are so tightly tied to your identity as a Korean. When someone is sent abroad internationally as an adoptee, they're still on family record, usually. And one record of this that has been very useful for my research is called the Kwanandong Family Register from the 15th to the 20th centuries that shows good examples of adoption. And particularly of an older brother adopting a younger brother's son. In some cases, this could be a problem because then the other sons may die also, so then the son will have responsibility for two families. So this can sometimes be confusing. As a Westerner, it's hard for me to see there's often a huge sense of guilt attached with adoption. So as someone adopts a child, they say, oh, look what I've given you. Look at the opportunities you now have because I've given you this opportunity. Now you owe me something. Now you should be this way. Look what you could have been, and now how much better you are. So there's a lot of guilt that seems to be attached to this. Then in 1953, surrounding the Korean War and the media about Korea because of that, Harry and Bertha Holt started the Holt International, started Holt International. They were the first American couple to adopt from Korea. They adopted 8 Korean kids and then kind of by word of mouth and also through the media made adoption in Korea a really big deal. So it kind of became a big boom. And then in 1988 with the Seoul Olympics, it's kind of a conspiracy/controversy with North Korea, spinning that in the media international media to say, oh, South Korea is a baby exporting business. Look at how like they can't take responsibility for their own social welfare. So it's kind of muddy in the water as to how that became such a scandal, but I think maybe Koreans feel some social guilt now because of how many kids have been adopted internationally. So I introduced to you those three organizations, Ministry of Health and Welfare, Kosis, KOSAC. So one problem with this is it's very inconsistent. One organization did 2 studies in the same year and came up with different statistics using the same information. But part of this is because sometimes kids, like orphans or unwanted children, are not recorded on family register at birth. And so you can't use that as reliable sources of information. So the first study, this was in 2004, and the first study said that there were 1,641 domestic adoptions and 2,258 international adoptions. Same year, same agency, different study. 1,306 adoptions domestically and 2,258 internationally. Same organization, same agency, Ministry of Health and Welfare, Korean government, same year, different numbers. So it makes my job trying to analyze this really, really difficult. Like, what can I do? So then, as you can see, domestic adoption is significantly lower than international adoption in 2004. And also, Steve Morrison started an organization called MPAC, which is Mission to Promote Adoption in Korea. It used to be for Koreans, now it's in Korea, and he did a study in 2010. Ministry of Health and Welfare has not had a study since 2004 about adoption, so it's hard. So using this, it would appear that international adoption is going down, domestic adoption is going up. But okay, and the number of children left in need of protection, this could be homelessness, this could be adoption, this could be they're still in their families' homes, but in cases of abuse. So this is 9,393 in 2000, also in 2000. Okay, so this is a Kosis study from, we're now in 2018, so 2 years ago, views towards adoption. So they actually did 2 studies, and they compared 2012 and 2016. This is just overall views of general Korean population towards adoption. Personally, I think there's a lot of uncertainty. So people were given the option of adoption is a last resort, but I'm still kind of open to it a little bit. Then even if I have a biological child, adoption is still an option, and I never wanted to adopt. So when I ask a Korean, oh, what do you think about adoption? Typically, this is the response that I get. Typically. Sometimes I get this, but it's usually this. And there's a lot of this. To me, I want to target this uncertainty. Why are people so unsure? Is it just you've never heard of adoption before? You never thought about adoption before? To me, adoption is really interesting, so why have you never heard of it before? I don't know. Okay, so then comparing age groups also. I was not surprised to see that the youngest category is the most unsure. Actually, excuse me, that's wrong. 2 categories, most unsure. So 60 plus also. Middle age, more certain. But also, I want to target youngest age category. Can we say, okay, like your uncertainty, let's make you more sure of what you want with your life and with social welfare issues. Okay. Then this is a different study, but also by Kosis, major inhibitors of adoption. So why people think they wouldn't want to adopt. Okay, and this is the crux of what I want to learn. Okay, so biggest category, I do not feel the need for adoption, economic burden, and then some other reasons. So, yeah, I think this is what's concerning to me. I do not feel the need for adoption. Does that mean, to me it feels very vague. Does that mean it's not important, it's not necessary? Does that mean I don't know, so I'm just going to choose this? I don't feel it's super important, so I guess I don't know? Or is it that it's really like negative and we shouldn't have it? So that's what I want to target. Okay. Also, if you notice, this is kind of the historical reason for adoption, property inheritance, this is a very low reason for adoption. Okay. Next. Okay, so that is kind of brief summary of what I've learned so far. This is where I want to go with the future, research, questions, and hypotheses. So again, my research is in progress. It's not finished by any means whatsoever. So I have a few questions. The first one is, within Gwangju, why don't Gwangju's potential adoptive parents or families choose to adopt? So the research that I've seen so far has been focused on Korea as a whole and not Gwangju, this area, or Jeollanam-do. So I'm curious if there's a difference, if I can compare the two areas to the Korea as a whole, and also, like, we're the democratic capital of Korea. Maybe we have more liberal viewpoints than the rest. I don't know, we'll find out. Okay, and then I think there are three possible reasons why. The first one is kind of Confucian ideology about bloodline and ties. Second one being financial or economic burden, especially related to education. And then the lack of awareness and apathy, which is related to what we just looked at with, I don't feel there's a need for adoption. Okay, and then, so this is the first question. And then the second question is, what linguistic means could we use to target whatever that inhibitor may be? So I want to create an ad campaign that we can eventually use. So my study comes in three parts. This is study number one. And this will look like a big online survey that participants, married Korean couples who fit the criteria for adoption, can take. Then this will be a linguistic study for general Korean individuals, married or single, doesn't matter, to see, okay, how does this picture or these words make you feel? How does this make you feel? Does this make you feel more open to adoption? Okay, and then the third one is just implementation of the ad campaign. Okay, I just explained this to you. Cool. Okay, so here are some example questions. For example, when did you first consider adoption seriously for you and your family? What caused you to consider it? On a scale of 1 to 7, 1 being very much not the same, 4 being equally similar in different components, and 7 being very much the same, how similar is raising an adopted child and a biological child? So that was one of the criteria on the chart for adoption inhibitors, that people may feel that they are not capable of raising an adopted child the same way they would be able to raise a biological child. So I was communicating with one of my Korean friends about this because this confused me a lot. What does this mean? And this also may be related to Confucian ideology, where you feel an automatic bond when your child is born, and also just general social issues where a child may have loyalty to its biological child despite never having, biological family, despite never having met biological family, and so may feel, if you tell them that they are adopted, they will feel that they should go looking for their biological family and will feel no loyalty to the adopted family. So this is also something that I want to know. Okay, and then it will come with analysis of the data to compare with general Korean population by Kosis and Kostat, and then statistical tests to see if any of this is like significant information. Okay, and then this is survey number 2. So these are ad campaigns for adoption in different countries. So I believe this one is Ecuador, India, and then the United States. And this comes very closely tied with cultural values. So in America, a lot of people feel very, I just forgot vocabulary. Well, people feel like insufficient as parents, feel that they will not be good enough as parents. And so in this ad campaign, you don't have to understand everything in order to be a good parent. So it's talking about calculus. If you are trying to teach your high school student calculus, these are your options. A, teach them yourself. B, quickly Google on your phone under the table so that you can coach them. C, get a tutor. D, just tell them you don't know. It's okay, you don't have to understand everything. You can still be a good parent and not know. So that's very applicable to American values. This ad campaign, you will receive more than you will give if you adopt. Apparently that ties really well into Indian cultural values. And this one, the child is just waiting for you. There's a child waiting for you to open your home. Apparently ties into Ecuadorian cultural values. Okay, so I want to know about how people will respond to certain images and words. How can we trigger whatever inhibitor we learned from survey 1? How can we trigger that with survey 2 and an ad campaign? Okay, so questions like how often do you use or check your social media accounts? Please select all of the following words that accurately describe your reaction to this image. And then again, analysis and statistical tests. Okay, and then creation and implementation of an ad campaign. So this is a very big project, or actually 3 very big projects. And I have a lot of limitations, and I recognize that. I've been working on this off and on for the last 9 months, basically, because I'm also a language student and I don't really spend a lot of time on it. But, so these are my biggest limitations. So number 1 is language, which I'm working towards overcoming, but language is really big because of access to information within literature reviews and research. And also, as I distribute a survey, I have to think about creating culture and use a lot of advisors to help me manipulate this in a way that I can still get the answers I'm looking for while not creating a cultural barrier between me and the participant. Okay? And then openness and sensitivity. Most Koreans have not really thought about adoption seriously before. And so this is a major problem for me because I'm going to have a lot of answers that just say, I don't know. And that's going to be really frustrating. So I need to, again, work on this culture understanding so that I can get the answers I'm looking for. From here until survey completion, or continuing the survey, there are some things that I need to work on. First is Korean language. I'm continuing to learn about culture, and then also working with adoption agencies as much as possible. So far I only have one contact who is going to be presenting next week. You should all come to listen to him speak. He's one of the advisors for my project, so Ham is his English name. He's great. Okay, and then also applying for publication. Once the survey has been under the works, I need to apply for publication because I would like this to go into an academic journal. And then also, once we have a finished ad campaign, a finished project, I would like to see it work, hopefully. So, news agency or online or